Gabe Elton sitting in for Charlie McGrath on the one and only W.A.N.Radio network. Again, that's Gabe Elton with Austin Rare Coin and Bullion, bringing you the Austin Report. Extremely excited to be back with you guys. I have so much to go over and discuss with you tonight. Buckle in your seatbelts because it's going to be a wild ride and an action-packed hour. As the time moves on, I've got several special announcements that I am extremely excited about. I'm going to let you guys know about near the end of the show. We're also going to talk about and touch on the continued exodus out of paper and into hard assets as the world continues to move away from the U.S. dollar. We, I believe, are currently in the eye of a hurricane. Things are actually fairly quiet out there, but I think all of you know there are seismic shifts that are currently underway. And unless we act on this information, we're going to be left in the dust because things are happening. Big things are happening. I've got some really startling announcements for you, things that we have seen here on the inside at Austin Rare Coin and Bullion regarding the gold and silver markets in particular. In fact, the title of tonight's show, I think it's going to be "The Run on Gold Has Already Begun." And I want everyone to sit back and take that into account. The run on gold has already begun. There has been a run on silver, and there is a continued run on silver. But the big players, when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars or even billions of dollars, sometimes physical silver will not foot the bill unless you have a warehouse to store it in. So most of these people that are in the know, most of these people that are very well connected, they're moving into gold not because they don't think that silver will end up being more profitable, which I believe, and all of the numbers say so, but mainly because in the large dollar amounts that they're dealing in, silver becomes an extremely hard product to store. And in which case, I think we see the rumblings of what's coming in the future when those well-connected and very wealthy individuals start to buy gold, because that, I believe, is the signal of the tsunami of buyers that are going to move to hard assets, not only with gold, but also with silver. For those of us who don't have a storage problem and don't have billions of dollars. But this is happening. It's happening today. It's happening right now as we speak. And the seismic shift is not only going on all over the world, but it's specifically happening here in the gold and silver markets. You know, I've been personally involved in the gold and silver business for over 15 years. Austin Rare Coins has been here and in business for 25 years. I can say that what I'm seeing in the markets right now, I've only seen happen one other time, and that was back in 2009. And if you guys remember, in 2009, you could buy gold for $945 an ounce. You could buy silver for right around $14 an ounce. And then within 2 years of the last time that I noticed this, you had a gold price skyrocket from $945 an ounce to $1,870 an ounce in the space of only 2 years, between 2009 and 2011. I'm seeing these types of actions taking place right now. And as I mentioned, I've only seen it happen one other time. And silver in particular, gold nearly doubled. Silver went up more than 140% over that same time frame. So, all of us have a choice. We can either listen to the warnings that I'm about to give, but I've listened to warnings that others have given me. And we could listen to those warnings or do something about it. Or we can think to ourselves that, we've heard this before. Gabe, this is old news. I already knew that the world was moving away from the dollar. I already was a prepper. I consider myself a survivalist. I consider myself a stacker. So it's not news to me. Well, the warnings that I'm about to give you are news to you, because this is inside information that not very many gold dealers are going to share with you. And the things that I'm seeing, the rumblings beneath the surface, not only in the world geopolitical stage, but also specifically in gold and silver, are pointing towards a major event happening soon. So, as I said, buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be an interesting show. Like I mentioned, we can heed those warnings or think that we've heard it before and do nothing. But you have to take action. And I think once you hear what I'm about to tell you, that you will follow that advice. So go ahead and diving into this, getting into the meat and potatoes of things. I want to show or tell you actually a little bit about our company to kind of give you a picture of where Austin Coins fits in as far as gold and silver dealers go. As I mentioned earlier, we've been in business for 25 years. We've got over 100,000 clients. We handle between $40 to $60 million a year in trades, depending on the market. Generally when it's hot, we might do well over 60 million, and when it's extremely slow, we might barely hit 40 million. But saying that, we're not the largest coin company in America. In fact, we're not the top 4 or 5 coin companies in America. But we deal with, we move a lot of business through here. We deal with, $100,000 trades daily, and probably single trades in excess of $1 million, at least bi-weekly, to give you an idea of what we're looking at here at Austin Rare Coins. But over those 25 years, we've made some very big connections in finance and industry. These guys, some of them are household names. I can't mention their name because most of you will have heard about them or read about them or watched videos about them, but they are extremely important people that run hedge funds and that are considered billionaires. We have other clients that you might not know who they are, but they just happen to be owners of casinos in Las Vegas. And when these guys talk, all of us have heard the term, when people like this talks, well, everyone listens. Well, that is true, and I would say that regarding myself as well. But what is particularly true about me is that when these guys begin to buy gold and silver, I listen. And they are coming to us in droves at the moment. They all run in very close-knit circles. They all tell their friends who they do business with, and generally their friends will find their way to us. And it's extremely important because these guys are so well connected that they know something that we don't. And they have been basically out of the gold and silver market since 2008. You guys have heard me tell the story about my conversations with my friend Shane McGuire, who has told me that, don't worry, Gabe, the institutional money isn't in gold and silver right now. That's the reason why it hasn't been performing like it should be, because they got into gold and silver in 2008. They rode the wave in gold and silver all the way through 2011, and that's when they began to get out of the gold and silver markets and into the stock markets. But the thing that he kept repeating is that these guys know where the exits are. In 2008, it was taboo to buy gold and silver. Now it's no longer the case. Now, that doesn't mean that they're buying it, but as soon as they see a sign of problems, they know where the exits are. And it would be in your best interest to make sure that all of your clients get a piece of the action before they start getting back in and buying. And I am reporting to you tonight that they are starting to buy again. It's not as if they're coming to us in full force. In fact, most of them are simply dipping their toe in the water, but the deals are coming in, and these are from well-connected, very wealthy, big individuals with, they're not millionaires, they're billionaires. And they are starting to move towards the exits. So what does that mean? Well, right now it's orderly. It's a trickle. It's not a flood. The move is just simply starting. And the important part is that these people are in the know. And what they're telegraphing to us is that something big is around the corner. It's not just 1, person. It's multiple people. And to give you an example, in the last 3 days of business, we've written $1.3 million in business over the last 3 days since Monday. And that includes 30,000 ounces of silver and several hundred ounces of gold. I'll repeat that. 30,000 ounces of silver, more than, and several hundred ounces of gold. Now, that's a substantial amount of physical gold and silver. And the fact of the matter is that it's running out. Backdated, just to give you an example, we sell in basically any major coin company, they'll sell 2014 gold eagles, 2014 gold maple leafs. Those are generally the most expensive because we have to deal with the mint and there's a mint fee involved. But we also always offer what we call any date gold eagles, or our choice of dates, meaning you can get the backdated years and they're normally sold at a fairly significant discount to the modern stuff that's currently being minted. And I started looking at this because since these programs started, since the Gold Eagle program started in 1986, and since the Maple Leaf program started, there's been more than 40 million ounces of gold produced since 1986. If you look at the production of Gold Eagles from 1986 until today, and if you look at the production of Maple Leafs from that time until today, you're going to see that it's more than 40 million ounces of gold that has been produced. It's worth about $56 billion. If you called me today and wanted 50 1-ounce gold eagles, if you wanted 50 1-ounce gold maple leafs that were of the any date variety, in other words, not the 2014s, I cannot supply them for you. My suppliers are completely sold out of $56 billion worth of gold. I cannot find it in quantity at all. That, as I mentioned, I talked earlier, we're going to talk about things that I have only seen once in my career of spanning 15 years that's happening right now. It's amazing to me that $56 billion worth of gold has vanished. It's in a safe, it's in a vault, it's in a hole, but it's not available. That's a huge amount of gold, and it is extremely rare for anything like this to happen. And we deal with multiple very well-connected suppliers, and most times if we can't get it, it can't be had. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go to your local pawn shop or find a backdated Gold Eagle or a backdated Maple Leaf. What it means is if you wanted to order 10 backdated eagles from me today, I could not take your order. If you wanted to order 10 backdated maple leaves, I cannot take your order. I have no supply. I don't know when there will be more. Now, 2014, knock on wood, has been fairly okay. The supply is constant. There isn't any trouble at the moment. However, what I think this shows is if you look at the backdated years being unavailable out there in the open market in large quantity, that means that not only are investors buying all of the gold that is currently being produced, but it means that no one is selling the gold that they've had for years. And those that had sold over the last several years, the float is no longer there on the market. There is no overhang of inventory anywhere. What does that mean? What does it mean when in a week you have two very well-connected people? And by the way, both of these folks were first-time orders. They were referrals from other very well-known, very well-connected people that all of a sudden start dipping their toe in the water and start buying gold and silver. You know, I told the story 2 weeks ago of an investor that I spoke with who managed $120 million, and he had never bought physical gold or physical silver. I talked with a smaller time investor today. He's been in Bitcoin for a year and a half, and he, I believe, is a very well-off person. And this person, it's his first time to start buying gold and silver, and the trickle is going to turn into a flood. And the most important thing is, myself, just to give you a quick story of myself, I have been doing this for quite a while. I didn't even have a Skype account until Charlie asked me on his show. I am not the type of person that wanted to be noticed. I tried to stay as private as possible. I never had a Facebook account. I never fell for the MySpace thing. I am out here warning you, not just for the betterment of you, but also so that I could say to myself that I've done something. I tried to warn people. And if this particular show tonight is probably the most important one that you're going to hear from me or that you've heard from me yet, because things are happening. There is an earthquake underway. However, on the surface, things are quiet. Like Janet Yellen mentioned, you're starting to hear a little noise. She called the inflation noise. We're starting to see this. We can feel the rumblings, but we can't hear them yet. That's where we are as a society. That's where we are in the gold and silver markets. Remember, I have only seen this once before. When I say seen this, I mean having such a trouble getting product that is normally very readily available since 2009. And then over the next 2 years, gold nearly doubled, and silver, I said earlier, went up 140%. It was actually over 170% over the next 2 years. And that's why I'm entitling this particular report, this broadcast, this follow-up YouTube video, is the run on gold is just beginning. It has started to happen. It is a trickle at the moment, but I expect it to turn into a flood. Why call it a run on gold? Because that's exactly what is happening, and I'll tell you how. You've heard of the term bank run. Well, that happens when depositors line up to get their savings, and then they find out that the banks only keep a fraction of the money that's theirs for reserves. And you have people that are left wanting. People that go to the bank and aren't able to get their money because they weren't the first in line. They got there after the flood, not when the trickle started. And they were left empty-handed. That's the definition of a bank run. Well, when you have in the gold and silver market a price setting mechanism like the gold and silver fix, when you have a COMEX that openly leverages gold and silver by 100 to 1, and then the institutional money and pension funds and hedge funds start to head for the exit and start buying physical, the average guys like you and me are going to be left in that line wanting unless we get in before them. There's not enough of it to go around. The gold and silver markets are such a tiny, tiny, tiny market that when this flood occurs, there are going to be a ton of people, including those that are well connected and extremely wealthy, that are going to be left holding the bag because they bought paper promises. And as I said now, it is starting right in front of us. The move is happening. There is a complete seismic shift underway, and I expect that it'll send gold and silver through the roof. I expect that it will cause serious pain for those who held onto their dollars, and it's going to cause serious pain to those who hold paper assets. And so when we get back from the break here, I'm going to carry on with the global currency reset, one of the themes that we've talked about for quite a while, and what happens when the U.S. dollar loses its world reserve currency status, and what is it going to be like for that replacement? I think it's going to be extremely, extremely tough on everyone that's hearing my voice tonight and everyone that hears my voice after this production here. And I'm going to cover an article from Michael Snyder. Most of you are aware of his work from the Economic Collapse blog. But things are moving right along, yet on the surface, it seems to be quiet. And unless you're really tied in to what's happening, I think you're going to miss the major move in gold and silver that's coming. I think you're going to miss the major fall of the dollar. And as I said earlier, I think that this particular show is going to prove to be one of my most important shows that you've heard to date. So as we get back from the break, as I mentioned, that's what we're going to cover. I also wanted to let you know that we have been working on a YouTube channel Sort of a new foray for us here at Austin Rare Coins. As I mentioned, I never even had a Facebook or MySpace account, and I happen to be the one that's running our YouTube channel. When I say running, I'm basically, there's a huge collection of videos there that many of you might have seen from other places around the web. And visit our website. There's a direct link to that page, and let's talk and cover these other important issues on the backside.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rinse.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rinse.com.
This is Richard Ostro, owner for Carnivora Research International. In 1985, former President Ronald Reagan requested that Carnivora be sent directly to the White House from Europe, where it was manufactured at the time, effectively making him the first American to use Carnivora. He used it successfully for a serious immune challenge, which we are prohibited from mentioning in the United States. I would like to add that he used Carnivora approximately 8 years prior to the onset of his Alzheimer's condition, for those of you inadvertently connecting the two events. Visit us at Carnivora.com, now used in 27 countries around the world. Carnivore instinctively seeks out abnormal cells only that don't belong in the body without harming a single normal cell. 100% pure, natural, and harmless to humans and animals. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY, or visit Carnivora.com. Your immune system will thank you.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rinse.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rinse.com.
All right. Gabe Elton with Austin Rare Coin and Bullion, sitting in for Charlie McGrath of Wide Awake News on the one and only W.A.N.Radio network. Again, I'm with Austin Rare Coins, and this is the Austin Report. Just to sort of rehash what we talked about in the first segment, is the run on gold has begun. Very well-connected people are starting to buy gold. Our sales this week have been extremely robust, over 30,000 Silver Eagles, several hundred ounces of gold, all transacted within 3 days of business. Now, as I mentioned, when these sorts of people start to move towards the exit, I take notice, and they are moving out of paper. They're moving into gold and silver. It's set up a situation where backdated gold eagles and backdated maple leafs are basically non-existent. I can't get them from any of my suppliers. I don't have any of them in stock. And so if you're looking for gold, if you're looking for 1 ounce gold eagles, if you're looking for 1 ounce gold maple leafs, they're going to have to be 2014s. There's nothing wrong with that. They're a little bit more expensive than they normally would be compared to the any dates, that is. And, that's over 40 million ounces of gold, those backdated coins. That's over $56 billion worth of gold that is in some vault, as I mentioned, in some safe or in some hole, but it's not out there on the market and available for us. The only thing that's out there immediately are the 2014 coins. And when things like this happen is right before gold and silver begin to skyrocket, or at least that's the way it's been in the past. Now, when you have these types of run on gold and when you have these major investors looking for the exits, it's important that you get in first. We do expect shortages. I expect higher premiums within the next several months, if not sooner. But, I wanted to get back to the theme that some of you have heard me talk about, and that's a global currency reset, a situation where the U.S. dollar loses its status as the world's reserve currency. This movement is quickening. It's gaining a broader alliance. Things that I thought would have been crazy at the beginning of this year are happening just 7 months later. France and Germany, they're even joining in the chorus with Russia and China. The UK has even signed a currency deal with China, the United Kingdom. Okay, Germany and France are the European Union's staunchest supporters. France and Germany, they could be considered the cornerstones of the European Union. Even they are talking about moving away from the dollar. Now, I never looked at it like that. I never thought that it would get this bad. I thought that it would be a game between East and West. I thought that China, Russia, and India would form an alliance, and the new BRICS nation, a new bank that they're forming. We're going to get into that here in a second. And I thought that, you would have their sort of axis, if you will, and the Western establishment axis, which would be us and Europe and England. But even the stalwarts in the EU are beginning to notice, they're not idiots. They're beginning to move away from the U.S. dollar as well. And that is extremely important because, as I have been harping on all year, is that, the Federal Reserve, everybody waits on the Federal Reserve minutes that came out today to make a trade. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world to think that these people still have control of the economy and that what they say actually matters. And it's much more important than what they're actually doing to most people. And that in itself, I believe, is a farce. But I have always thought that this was a plan that was out of control. But now that I look at it, and I look at the idiocy of the United States foreign policy, I look at the idiocy of the Federal Reserve's policies, and I look at the idiocy of our judicial system's policies, and I say, we can't possibly be that stupid. And that perhaps this is part of one big plan, as Brandon Smith from Alt Market has written about. But I want to touch on this article from Michael Snyder from the Economic Collapse blog. It's entitled, "The Almighty Dollar is in Peril as the Global De-Dollarization Trend Accelerates." And in it, he talks about, we have a lot of customers around the world, and those customers use dollars to conduct business, and we ought to be treating our customers better. And he's referring to France and Germany and China. Well, French oil giant Total, they're France's largest energy company. And on Saturday, the CEO made a statement to Reuters and saying that there's no reason to pay for oil in dollars. As Michael Snyder alludes to, that sounds like something you would hear from Gazprom, who is Russia's largest oil company. But no, it's from Total. One of our supposed allies came out and said there's no reason to pay for oil in dollars. And he added that just because oil is priced in dollars, that doesn't mean that it actually has to be paid for in that currency. Then you have French finance minister. Their finance minister, of all people. It's not the CEO of an oil company. It's the French finance minister. Said that now is the time to bolster the use of the euro. He added, we sell ourselves aircraft in dollars. The French sell themselves aircraft in dollars. And he adds, is that really necessary? I don't think so. And so when you look at what's going on with Ukraine, if you look at with the sanctions involved with Russia and the fact that most of Germany does a huge amount of business with Russia, I mean, most of the European Union, most of the gas comes from Russia. They're the largest energy producer in the world, and we think that we can sanction them. If you look at what's going on with FACTA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, where we are mandating that foreign banks follow U.S. regulatory laws. I don't even like to call them laws, but they're regulations. And the rest of the world has to follow our regulations, even if it breaks their own laws of the country where the bank is stationed. I mean, do you understand? I just don't get it. I mean, who do we think we are to lay down our regulations for banks around the world and make them follow it, even if they break their own country's law? Okay? We are hastening the move away from the dollar, and one perfect example of this is the French bank, BNP. They were slapped with an $8.97 billion fine by U.S. authorities for transactions carried out in dollars in countries facing American sanctions. They sold a warship to Russia. And we fined them $9 billion. It goes on to say the fine spurred a debate in France about the right of the U.S. in extending its regulatory reach beyond its borders. Well, you know, if I could cuss on air, I would have just done it, because it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the United States regulatory burdens do not fall on a sovereign nation. And the sovereign nations are finally waking up to this fact and saying, why do we buy our own aircraft in dollars? Why do we have to sell our oil in dollars? Why do we have to abide by regulations that aren't even French regulations? They're American regulations and sanctions. And this is what is going on. It's the bully on the block. It's the teenager with the gun in his hand. It's caused the rest of the world to begin forming alliances. And the last of all people say it ain't so. Even Germany and France. Okay? They're not dumb. There is a major tectonic shift underway, and there is going to be a global currency reset. Even the IMF have put it on their website. They have a plan that they signed on to in 2011 to have the SDR be the world reserve currency by 2020. The BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, Spain, they're setting up their own bank to do away with the dollar. In this article from Michael Snyder, it goes on to say, it seems that the Kremlin chose the all-in-one approach for establishing its anti-dollar alliance. Currency swaps between the BRICS central banks will facilitate trade financing while completely bypassing the dollar. At the same time, the new system will also act as a de facto replacement of the IMF, because it will allow the members of the alliance to direct resources to finance the weaker countries. As an important bonus derived from this quasi-IMF system, the BRICS will use a part, most likely the dollar part, of their currency reserves to support it, thus drastically reducing the amount of dollar-based instruments bought by some of the biggest foreign creditors of the United States. And I think that last part is the most important, thus drastically reducing the amount of dollar-based instruments bought by some of the biggest foreign creditors of the United States. The move is happening. It's in the news, and it's time for all of us to act. We're going to close up on the backside of this break. I'm going to tell you about some specials, and looking forward to seeing you.
you think of getting old, what comes to your mind? Spending the last years of your life in a nursing home? Staring out a window? Medicated to keep you docile? Not able to recognize your own kids? Suffering with some dreaded disease until you die all alone? Well, think again. One of the premier doctors in the world, Dr. James Forsythe, wrote the book, Anti-Aging Cures. Life-changing secrets to reverse the effects of aging, your key to the real fountain of youth. And Suzanne Summers, the perpetual face of eternal youth, wrote the foreword. As mentioned in the book, Royal Velvet is the most cost-effective, easiest, and complete way to reverse the effects of aging. It's true. So, do you want glowing skin, less wrinkles, thicker hair, less gray hair, your hormones balanced, improved memory, a toned physique, greater energy, less pain and stiffness, as well as benefits too numerous to name? Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com. Click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner, and within a couple of days, you can be on the path to youthful living. RoyalVelvetNow.com. Your life will never be the same.
Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com here with a question for my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. What do they know that we don't? Insiders and a who's who list of elite have made it crystal clear that we are headed for catastrophe, putting out warning after warning, urging people to batten down the hatches. Billionaire George Soros has recently been dumping stocks and at the same time acquiring millions in gold. In fact, in a recent interview, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not here to cheer you up. The situation is as serious and difficult as I've experienced in my career." Out of control government deficit spending and a Federal Reserve that's only solution seems to be print more fiat currency will lead to a weaker dollar and massive inflation on necessity items such as energy and food. If you have wealth to protect, please visit my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. Gabe Elton and the folks at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion have many Wide Awake News customers because they're honest, they're fair, and they won't sell you paper promises or product they do not have. Call Gabe Elton at 800-552-4109. That number again, 800-552-4109, or visit them online at austincoins.com.
Make a promise, take a vow. Trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within and feel a change already beginning.
All right. Gabe Elton here with Austin Rare Coin and Bullion, sitting in for Charlie McGrath of Wide Awake News on the one and only Rinse Radio Network. So, you know, we're talking about this major move away from the dollar. We're talking about that these insiders are telegraphing what's next, and that backdated gold is extremely hard to find, something that's been extremely rare, in fact, over my time in this industry. And, you know, even France and Germany are now joining the chorus. And, you know, several months ago, Jim Willey was talking about how the Germans were going to side with China and Russia. And, you know, I knew Jim Willey has always sort of amazed me by some of the predictions that he's made, because it just sounds so off the wall, and then sometimes it ends up happening. And this Germany thing is one of those particular instances. So there is no doubt that there is a huge move away from the dollar, and that you and me are going to see the end of the dollar as the world reserve currency in our lifetime, probably within the next several years. Could even be in 2014, okay? And the question is, what's going to replace it? What's going to happen? And if all of you could just imagine this for a little bit, what's going to happen to the value or the standard of living here in the United States? What's going to happen to the value of your savings? What's going to happen to the value of your paper assets like stocks and bonds and CDs and money market accounts? And what's going to replace it? So, you know, I mentioned the IMF, they already have a plan. They have a complete report on their website that explains how they want to have the SDR be the de facto world currency by 2020. And then, of course, you have the World Bank. The World Bank has their own idea of what should be the next world reserve currency, which is probably just slightly different from the IMF's version. And now you have the development of this BRICS bank between, you know, China, Russia, India, and Brazil, who are going to open up their own bank. And I'm sure that they will have an idea of what the next world reserve currency will be. But one thing that I think is going to be extremely important is that a small portion of it is probably going to be backed by gold. The bad part of all this is that it is going to unleash hell on the U.S. citizen. It is going to unleash hell on the U.S. dollar. It will be devastating to all of us, even those of us who have, planned ahead, even those of us who have food, even those of us who have ways to filter water, even those of us who have protection and have gold and silver. It's going to be devastating. And the ones who have the most hard assets are the ones that are going to be devastated the least. It's important, as I mentioned, that you act now because the trickle towards the exits has begun. I'm reporting that to you tonight. The availability of backdated gold is gone. We have a derivatives bubble that's about to explode. We have the police state, the surveillance state. They're gearing up. They're showing their teeth. The world is moving away from the dollar en masse, and literal hell is about to be unleashed upon us. And as I said, those of us who heeded the warnings, those of us who had the foresight to move out of paper assets and into hard assets, we're going to be the ones that suffer the least. But the controllers, they don't want you to know this. I was thinking before the show, when's the last time you've heard anything about the war going on in the Ukraine? What about ISIS? Last week they were stealing Humvees. They had robbed $40 million in cash from Iraqi banks. They had taken over an airport with a Black Hawk helicopter there at their disposal. And maybe this week they've decided to spend the week at the zoo and go on a stroll around Iraq because I haven't heard much about them at all. Now the main story is the clashes between Israel and Hamas. It's as if the Ukraine and ISIS have taken a back seat to Israel and Hamas. It is extremely quiet. They're trying to quiet things down. And the fact that it's so silent is what is scary. Because not only is that silence deafening, but we can feel it rumbling below our feet. We know that there are seismic changes underway, and we are diverted to this IRS problem was a few weeks ago. That nobody's talking about that anymore. The scandal with the IRS. We are diverted with things like Israel and Hamas, which next week no one will be talking about that. Maybe it'll be ISIS' turn to come out into the main stage again. But we are being diverted. We're being divided, and everybody, I say everybody, the controllers of the U.S. media are trying to keep the facts from what's really happening from us. And it is, in fact, happening right in front of our eyes. It's like Baghdad Bob when during Gulf War I when, there were explosions going out in the background, and he was saying on the air that they had repelled the American forces. So that's what our media is doing to us today. Now, without further ado, we are working on this YouTube page. I wish all of you, if you have a Gmail account or a YouTube account, please go to our YouTube page and subscribe. You can link through there right on our home page, which is www.austincoins.com. Go there. There's a YouTube icon there on the home page. Follow it right to our YouTube page. And while it is still under construction, I've done an awful lot of work, and there's enough material there to keep you busy for days. There's some extremely important videos, some of them from Charlie McGrath and others from around the web, SGT report, the X22 report. It's as if it's a collection of all of those people like myself and yourself that know that something bad is around the corner. If you want the most up-to-date inside information and video, check out our YouTube page. The next thing that I want to mention, the 5 Silver Eagle offer. Okay? $120 delivered to your door. There's $6 there for shipping, $114 for the coins. If you look at that, you're basically getting Silver Eagles. That's 5 Silver Eagles to your door for $24 a piece. 5 Silver Eagles to your door $24 a piece. I don't think you're going to find that deal anywhere that includes shipping. And you can link through. This is a deal that I had offered once before. We've made it semi-permanent. It's not going to be forever. However, if you visit wideawakenews.com, there's a banner there that links through to our 5 Silver Eagle offer. And it's only available if you come through the Wide Awake News website. We do have other websites. Eric Peters Autos is another website that we advertise on. The Economic Collapse blog is a website that we advertise on. And the last one is The End of the American Dream, which is also ran by Michael Snyder. And all of our affiliates, if you will, all of our advertising avenues are going to have this banner. It was such a successful promotion that you can still get 5 Silver Eagles delivered to your door for $120. And, I don't think like I said, I don't think you're going to find a better deal than that. So what do you do next? I mean, you know what's going on. You know there's a move towards the exits. It's about to get bigger. You know that the world is moving away from the dollar. You know that the media is fabricating the truth, not telling the truth or hiding the truth. And what are you going to do? Well, I say make a rush to silver. That would be your first step. There's a lot of different products out there. The 2014 Canadian Maple Leaf is one of them that I like. It came out this year. It has a lot of new counterfeiting technologies in the coin. That's the first time ever. It has a little privy mark on the coin that's new for 2014. Inside of that privy mark is a microscopic 14 to help fight counterfeiting. There's also radial lines in the coin that make it very hard to reproduce. So for the first time, a modern major coin has started to put into place these anti-counterfeiting tactics. And I think that's extremely important. It also happens to be the least expensive modern coin out there. If you're looking for some way to double your stacks, which is what I like to do, obviously, I think all of us do, if the opportunity presents itself. But I think one of the ways that you might be able to do that is the 2014 Australian Silver Crocodile. There's only 1 million coins being minted. And it's the first time the Australians have done anything like this. They generally put their coins in an airtight capsule. These are coming in mint roll tubes that have a holograph piece of tape on them that's holographed to show that the tube has never been tampered with or opened. They're basically competing with the Canadian Mint's Wildlife series, which has been hugely successful and hugely popular. Don't forget, if you had the first year of issue Timberwolf, 500 Timberwolves will buy you 1,000 Canadian Maple Leafs today. If you had 500 Hawaiian Volcanoes, they would buy you 1,000 Silver Eagles today. Well, this is the first year of issue for the Australian Crocodile, which is a wildlife series. They're starting there in Australia. It has a limited mintage of 1 million coins. These are the types of coins that can help you double your stacks, and I've actually tripled someone's stack before based on what they bought compared to what they were able to trade into without having to add any more money. And if that's what you're thinking about, if that's all you're thinking about are your stacks, you're probably going to buy that Canadian Maple Leaf and forget about the saltwater crocodile. But let me promise that these types of coins have potential that you're not going to find in a Silver Eagle where there's 40 million minted every year. And it's not a guarantee. It's not 100% of the time, but nearly every time, not only is the extra 70 cents or so an ounce premium worth it, but every now and then you hit a home run. And those home runs make up for a lot. And that's one thing that we're selling an awful lot of this particular year. In fact, they're almost sold out, are the 2014 Australian Silver Crocodiles. The other thing that I would recommend is small fractional gold coins that you could trade with others in an emergency. You might want to look for the European gold coins. Those are my particular favorite. Coins like the British Sovereign, the Swiss franc, and the French Rooster. Visit our website, www.austinrarecoins.com. Give us a call, 1-800-928-6468, and subscribe to our YouTube page. See you in 2 weeks.
Wonder if he thought the next one could be me. Do you see
The soldiers that are out today to brush the dust with bulletproof vests away. It's ironic, at times like this you pray, but a bomb blew the mosque up yesterday. There's bombs on the buses, bikes, roads, inside your market, your shops, your clothes. My dad, he's got a lot of fear, I know, but enough pride inside, nothing let that show. My brother had a book he would hold with pride, a little red cover with a broken spine on the back. He hand-wrote a quote inside, when the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Meanwhile, the leader just talks away, stuttering and mumbling for nightly news to replay. The rest of the world watching at the end of the day, both scared and angry, like what did he say?
You have been chosen, yes, you, to discover for yourself what thousands have already experienced, the most life-changing health product in the world. It's called Royal Velvet, and there's nothing else like it. Royal Velvet users testify to receiving hundreds of benefits, from reversing the effects of aging to mental clarity, as well as noticeably improved sleep, energy, libido, overall health, and so much more, including saving lots of money. This is the real deal, that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you will regret if you don't act upon it. Honestly, there is an extremely limited amount of raw material, making it available only to a select few, a very select few. So find out why you have been chosen. Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com, click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner for an incredible surprise. Oh yeah, if you place your order before we run out of them, you will receive the eye-popping but simple-to-read book that tells you how to live in divine health, and it's free. RoyalVelvetNow.com.
In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're listening to the Rents Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at rents.com.